Welcome to the review of your 2022 business and life year. My name is Jannine Barron. I'm a regenerative business mentor, and it's my pleasure to walk you through this template, which I've never shown anyone before, but it's the exact template I use to review and reflect upon my year, which helps me know how to evolve and create intentions for my next year. So I'll be showing you two templates today. And there's a third option of doing a guided visualization with me, which is a very effective way to look back at key events globally, so we can, remember what was happening for us at that time. Because when you're doing a reflection process, sometimes you just forget some things that you've done. So by tapping into some global events, we can recall where we were at that time, which will help you remember and reflect upon some things that were happening in your life and business. Now, I am a regenerative business mentor, which means some of the things on this template are a little bit unusual and may not be on other end of year review sessions that you might be exploring. But my goal here is to offer you a very simple one-page solution as a reflective process. As a result, you'll be able to celebrate everything that worked really well in your year and to highlight the things that might need to change or evolve, and to decide what to discard and do differently. These are all important things to be doing at this time of year for your business. At the end of the day, I want you to have more of whatever you need: more impact, more nature connection, more time, more money, if that's what you need. But don't ask for more money if you don't need it. That's part of a regenerative process. But if you need more money, I want that for you. And so let's work out how to get that. And I want you to have this peace of mind, this healthcare, self-care, good health, and if it's relevant for you, perhaps to be a greater authority in the space of where you are. So there's many things we could list, but if you're still got a feeling that you need more of something, this process will really help you get that in a much clearer way than just walking out and setting goals for a new year. So trust this process. There's going to be two templates, and we're going to get stuck into it now. If you'd like a download of the template so you can follow along, there will be a link below. You can get that template. Otherwise, you can draw this up yourself on your computer, or you might prefer to have a big, large piece of paper. Just use whatever works for you. There's no rules about how it has to be. But if you would like the template, just refer to the link and then you can come back to this video. I also invite you, if you want to do this live, to just pause as I ask each question. So allow a whole hour to do that if you want to do that live, or you can just watch the process and then come back and review it as you go. So just use this as a useful tool to serve you. Whatever helps you reach your highest potential, that's always my intention when providing a resource for you. So here, let's go. So here's the end of year review template. If you don't have a copy of this, you can just draw it up as we go. And we're going to focus on the first column, which is all about you. And it's been labeled support on this sheet, but it's essentially about you, because you don't have a business without you. You being in good health, physical and mental health, but also having a deep earth connection to ensure that you're making decisions from a place that serves you and the impact that you want in this world. So let's have a look. The first column, first box there, is called self-care and health. So what I do in this section is I tend to map out things like doctor visits, naturopath visits, herbalist visits, massages, anything that was specifically related to my physical and mental health. So clubs that I joined, swimming, running, walking, really anything that I did. Now, remember, this is not about what I wish I'd done or that I want to do. This is about what I actually did. So this is a reflective process. So pause now if you're doing this live and list the self-care and health that you gave to yourself in 2022. Okay, welcome back. Now, the second box is labeled relationships broadly, but that could be family, friends, or community. So just to reflect on myself for a moment, just to give you an example. So with my family, it was looking at, every school holidays, we were seeing the grandchildren. That was very important to us. There were friends. We saw most of our friends this year, but we didn't see them all. So it's really helpful for me to list, who I didn't quite get to see, because then I can bring that into my planning for next year. And as far as the community go, it doesn't matter where you live. I mean, myself, I live in a very small village, and our community hall is the center of the community. And I began the year as the chair of the village hall, and mid-year I left that role and increased my presence in a climate committee, we called it, that we formed. Greener Maiden Bradley is another name, and we create events based in educational events and nature experiences for people in our village. And that's just a personal commitment that we've got in our community that helps bring us together. So there are some examples of how you can document your relationships that you experienced in 2022. So if you're doing this live, pause this now. Okay, welcome back. Box number 3, nature immersion. Look, you can call this anything you like. If you don't like my titles, by the way, please just replace this with your own terminology. At the end of the day, what did you do that not just like went for walks, but really deeply immersed yourself in a place where you could really listen to the earth, connect with the trees and the woodlands around you in a way that really resonates deeply in your heart? And this is the deep regenerative work. Now, I have put some examples there to help you if you're not sure what I mean. And you'll see the first thing I've done there is my water bathing I did in Scotland. And that was a Wi-Fi free experience for 5 days, which is super powerful. You must have some Wi-Fi free experiences to work this well. You'll notice I've got a tick next to it. I'm just introducing this idea as we go, because if you don't like doing big complex planning like me, you might just like to put ticks or crosses next to things as you're recalling them, because that can give you an idea of whether that didn't work for you or whether you really loved it. The second thing I've got there is Wilma Cottage. That's Wilma Allen, who has an amazing place in Wales called Being at the Cottage. And again, a Wi-Fi free experience, sort of does sort of that deep leadership work there. And I've written here local day walks. Now, that might not mean much to you, but to me and anyone in my family, they know. They see me putting on my backpack. They see me in a certain state of mind. They know I'm heading off and they don't know when I'm coming back. And I specifically go to very quiet places where I won't be meeting people, hopefully. And I go exploring. And these are days when I just really need to connect with myself and the earth deeply. And I take off and they go for hours and hours most of the day. Then at some point I usually make a phone call to get picked up. So whatever you do, this is deep nature immersion. This is not just going for a walk around the block. So if you're doing this live, pause this now. And welcome back. Number 4 is holidays. And hopefully you can fill this box. Anyone that knows me knows I love to travel, and I often combine holidays and travel together. So I had a lot in this box this year. I had Cornwall 3 times, I had Scotland twice, and many other adventures. So these can be weekend retreats or a full proper week along holidays. So just document what you actually did, how many breaks you took for yourself this year. Okay, welcome back. And the final thing I map under support is what coaching and mentoring I got for myself. And what I've said courses here, this is not skills-based courses. We'll look at that over on a different column, on the learning column. These are kind of courses that, perhaps meditation courses. For me, I did some really beautiful hypnotherapy work. I did some meditation courses. I did some other conscious courses. And this is something I do a lot of, and I really recommend that you have some kind of self-nurturing work. So again, we haven't even touched business yet. This is all about you. And remember, the reason we're focusing so much on you first, and anyone who knows me know that I say fix this column up first when you're planning for your next year as well. I'll give you an example of that in a moment. So take some time to document the support you got for yourself this year, the personal support. Okay, terrific. Welcome back. Now, column 2, we're getting to the business. If you're watching this video, I'm going to assume you're a purpose-led business. And so the first thing we look at is the kind of impact we're having. Now, this can be anything from a net zero journey to a B Corp application, any other certified process out there, or it could simply be something that you've done. It doesn't have to be acknowledged by the world. but it's the impact you're having. So this could be supporting a charity, which is why I've got that listed there. I know, like last year, like my regular donations went to places like Tree Sisters. I'm making new intentions next year around B1G1 and Client Earth, and I'll get to that in the planning session. But I always like to sort of highlight where I'm having my impact and where I'm sharing it. So it can be formal, it can be a certification, or it can be a charitable donation, whatever works for you. Pause now and list the impact you had in 2022. Okay, welcome back. Box 2 is your team. None of us have a business without a team. And even if you're a sole trader, you will have brought some expertise on somewhere. So that could be accountant, bookkeeper, it can be a VA, it can be staff if you're a small company. It could be team members in very specific areas like website building, different types of tech, app building. So just really list the people that you brought into your business that you would consider to be part of your team. This could be an advisory board, whether volunteered or paid, but anyone that really you realize, even though you're a sole trader, actually you don't do it alone. You have a team. So just pause and list all your team members now. Okay, welcome back. Now, just want to point out that the size of these boxes has nothing to do with the importance. So if you have one that has a much longer list than others, then fantastic. That's personal for you. You'll notice the next two boxes are specifically around marketing. And the first one, I've pulled social media out as a component because I just think it's such a significant part of marketing these days that I want you to see whether you have one or five platforms or more that you're working on, because you might sort of, as you list them, realize, oh, you're not really using that much, or is that really necessary? This is a good place. You can use the tick and cross method afterwards, but list your social media separately. And then when you get to marketing connection, this is actually a huge topic. You could do a whole page on just this. I'm not prompting you at all because there is literally up to 1,000 things you can be doing for marketing. So whether it's putting up a poster or creating a digital strategy, I want you to take the time to really look at everything you did in 2022. Don't judge it or explain it. Don't put down things that you meant to do. Just put down what you actually did, because that reflection process will help you see what is working and what to celebrate. Okay, welcome back. That one would take some time, I appreciate, but very important to do, like everything. In the third column, it's services, and you'll notice it's completely blank because I know that there's just so many of you out there with varied businesses that prompting you doesn't really help. But I will verbally prompt you now. Excuse me. To do private work, courses you ran, products you sold, basically any way that you made money. So, however you describe your product or services, please do that. You may actually wish to even put some numbers against some of those things just to kind of see which of those services brought in a certain amount of income in your business. And that can be very rough. You don't need to, this is just big blue sky thinking, big visionary work here. We're not getting into specifics. That's a very important part of detailed strategy. But we want to see where the income came from and how you designed your services. Okay, welcome back. And you may want to jump to the fifth column at this point, because there's a relationship here between services and clients. If you had less than 50 clients, I would literally list every single person, because I think at that stage of a business, it's really important to name the people so you can tune into, whether it really worked, what you did with them. If you have more than 50 clients, and that would be relevant to product-based businesses or large courses, I would put categories of clients, just anything that can really help you focus. Or if you have the time, if you want to write everyone, I mean, that's a very beautiful thing to do because you can energetically connect with what you're doing with those people. So you've got to go back to January. You might want to get your diary out and have a look at who you were working with. But very, very useful. And then once you have everyone listed, you may want to even like sort of highlight or create circles around groups of people just to sort of see what themes pop up with the kind of people you're working with. That may seem obvious to you, but when you do this as a reflective process, some surprising insights can arise. So I really encourage you to do this well. Okay, welcome back to column 4. This is your learning. Again, call it what you like, but this is particularly skills based and specific to your business. So you may have anything from, so for example, I did a lot of regenerative study this year. So that would go both under workshops and courses, but also under books. Now, when you get to books, don't list the books you bought and didn't read. List the books you did read, because it's very interesting to see which ones you chose to read and how that information was consumed. When it comes to podcasts, again, you may not remember them all, but try to list as many as you can and just notice as you're putting them down. That's where you put your energy and attention. That's what you wanted to learn. That's what you did. And regarding events, they can be one-day events or full conferences, but I think events tell us a lot about where we're going and what we're interested in, and also the people we met. So list every single event that you went to this year. So I went to 4 conferences this year, so I listed all 4. You can do like what I did with events, and if any of you have been following my 12 days of gratitude on the email list, you'll see that I actually highlighted, some of the big learnings from each event. And so that is a really important thing to do. But at this stage, just list them, because remember, this is sort of big picture. There's a secondary process where you can get into detail and journaling around the actual learnings. But this stage, we just want to get everything down so you don't miss anything. Okay, beautiful. So I'm going to assume that you have this completed template now. If you haven't, you can come back to this. But hopefully by now you're starting to see that by remembering what you did, there's a bit of a theme developing, even a theme that might have been less obvious before you actually documented this. And allows us to go to the next template now, which is exactly the same except for its intention, which is big vision thinking for next year. And in this case, it's 2023. So whatever year you're watching this, just replace the year. But this is the same process I use every year. This is the exact template I use to do the big thinking. Now, just to give you a bit of comparison here. So you remember over here that I had under nature immersion, the 3 items here. Well, in the planning, because I always do this kind of planning first before I do any other strategy, I really have realized I want to go a lot deeper this year. So I have a winter experience that I'm starting in January with the beautiful Becoming Crew Mob. Then I've got a Vision Quest down in Yatra. Now, I don't have that booked in yet, but I know I want that. So I put it down now, and I'm putting out some feelers and talking to some people. Haven't quite found the right experience yet, but I pop it here so I don't forget that's important to me. Same with the third one. For some reason, I feel like I want to go hiking in the Swiss Alps alone. Very interesting. So I'm trusting that thought. We'll see what happens. And I've popped that down there. And then the fourth one, I'm sort of quite far along in terms of booking that. So again, that will include some solo time in nature as well as group time with people. So because regeneration is at the basis of all I do, that earth connection is my priority. So if you have a look at last year's again, okay, so we had the quiet Wi-Fi free bathing, the leadership work in the cottage, and these very deep long day walks that I do locally, which I will continue there. Actually, I'll actually pop that on this section as well, because that's just, I don't know, that just happens naturally for me. I tend to go on those whenever I'm feeling like I'm a bit out of balance. I'll just take off. My family knows this. I've been doing this for about 20 years. back in Australia, I would just like, they'd just see me starting to put the tent in the car and they're like, okay, mum's off. And they knew they weren't going to see me, and I'd go and camp somewhere deep in the bush. And I had a few favorite places I'd go. I haven't quite picked up the camping in the UK yet, which is interesting. I might have to do something about that, but I do find just the taking off for the whole day spectacular. Okay, I've got some holidays booked in there. I know I want to do, I do want to do, I haven't got my train trip to Europe booked in there. I think that'll be connected to the Swiss Alps, but I definitely want to, we're starting to organise a big camping holiday with a load of friends in Scotland, and I definitely want to return to the beach in Cornwall. So you can see already that was such an important thing last year. I've brought that through to the following year. So I haven't listed everything I'm doing here, but like, for example, under coaching, I've got my beautiful coach, Kelly Wendorf, locked in for the entire year. So that's something I really commit to. My relationships, where my husband and I have both started with like, okay, we didn't see so-and-so last year. We're definitely seeing them this year. And we're sort of already writing to them and booking in weekends and making plans. So we find that if we don't do that, the year just seems to run away. So that's really important. And in self-care and health, again, I'm already got my appointments booked in with naturopaths, and I haven't been happy with any of the clubs I've joined. So I'm going to try a new club from a fitness point of view again this year, and I'll be returning to my quarry swimming, which I do every summer. I haven't quite extended that to the winter yet, but I'm very blessed to have an amazing spring-fed quarry near me that I get to swim in. Okay, so really sort of what I do there is I go back to 2022, look at what I write in these boxes, and then I come forward and I think, what do I repeat? That worked really, really well. What did I miss? What wasn't there? And as all my clients know, I'm like, this is the first thing you plan. Okay, so massages, spa days. I spoke to someone today, they want to have a couple spa days. I said, brilliant, book it in. But only you know what works for you. Okay, we're all different. We don't all want a massage or a naturopath, but you've got to know what works for you and make that your priority. So again, when you get to the brand column, look back at last year, have a look at what you wrote. What do you want to continue or change? I gave you the example of, I sort of switching my charitable giving this year to Client Earth. I just find that systemically that's a really powerful. I've been following them all year on email, and then I've just made that decision now that that's going to be my focus. So where will your focus be? Um, I've done a lot of certification in my other companies. I've certification External certification has always been really important to me, but it hasn't been as important this time because it's just so integral to everything I do. I don't feel like I need that validation. So I am naturally live a very simple, eco-friendly lifestyle, but I always find little ways to keep myself in check by being part of small communities and doing bits of study. And then I have my charitable giving. That just suits me at this stage. I don't need external validation. But external validation with certification is really powerful, holds you accountable. Big fan of it. I've always done it in the past. And yeah, so if you want to look at a sort of B Corp journey or a Planet Mark journey, or there's the Responsible 100, there's all sorts of amazing things out there. It's finding the right one for you. Don't feel any pressure to do what other people think you should do. It's really easier to end up on a bandwagon that's important to someone else. So talk to your support team, talk to people around you, and decide what you want to get involved with. I've just realized, I can't believe I didn't highlight this in the last interview review, but like with your business team, these are also the networks you belong to. So, for example, I belong to Women in Sustainability and find that really amazing for networking and education. The Better Business Network, which is phenomenal at leadership and setting around purpose-led business and meeting incredible people, meeting clients. And I've been a part of the World Sustainability Collective. So that's kind of enough. I feel like 3 business networks is plenty. But I did add the RSA last year, and I haven't utilized it well enough. So I'll be increasing my access to the RSA this year. So part of your business team are the networks you're involved in, as well as the your VA and your team members and your staff. Okay, so I won't talk you through the rest of the template because I think you've got the idea. You're basically looking at a replica of what you did last year here and mapping out new things that you want to bring in and new learnings, new groups you want to be involved with. I know some of you here are listening to me already, or down in events and workshops, you'll be putting down the growth experience, which is a really powerful year-long program I'm running around, which is essentially a regenerative business incubator, where I combine the highly practical with the highly intuitive. So yeah, that's something you would pop on there if you know you're already planning to be a part of that. And with clients, obviously, I don't know, I've got a number of clients booked in already, which is beautiful, but there's still some people I'd really like to work with, maybe certain industries. So I'll be mapping those. If I don't know a specific person, I'll be mapping the kind of industries that I want to work with. And I usually put some numbers there as well. So I just get a sense of what kind of income I'm going for. And that just gives me a sense of security so I can focus on my impact, knowing that the income is looked after. Okay, so they're the templates I use. I hope you have enjoyed this process. For those of you who want to hang around, just in case you might have forgotten something, I'm now going to spend about 3 or 4 minutes on a kind of a visualization. It's not so much a guided visualization, which I do love, but it's just a little reflective visualization to look back at your 2022. We're going to look at some global events because that can help us recall things that we were doing at that time. So if you want to take part in this, please let anyone know in your house that you need to be undisturbed for a full 5 minutes. If you have an animal, they won't understand that. So please find some time when you know they're quiet and they're not going to come chasing and scratching at your door. But you will need to do this well. You'll need a good full 5 minutes. Okay. All right. So either goodbye to you or hang around, and we're going to start in a moment. Okay, so welcome to a guided reflective visualization for 2022. First thing we do is take a breath. And if you're comfortable closing your eyes, please do. And if you're not, I have an image there on the screen that you're very welcome to look at. And the first thing I want you to do, if you're comfortable closing your eyes or looking at this image, either is fine, is you just press your feet firmly on the ground so you're connected and grounded on the earth. And I'm just going to go quiet for about 10 or 15 seconds so you can really connect with your breath. Don't force it to do anything, just really notice and connect with your breath. Okay, that's beautiful. We're going to start with January. I want you to think about last New Year's Eve and where you were. Who were you with? Was it a quiet one? Did you go to bed early? Were you at a party? Perhaps you were watching the celebrations on media, some form of media. Perhaps you were thinking about whether you should have a booster shot at that time. In January in the news, they were talking about the Downing Street parties. Yes, they were finally admitted. Novak Djokovic was deported from Australia. He wasn't allowed to play in the Australian Open. What was happening for you in January in 2022? And then we move into February, and the Winter Olympics were being held in Beijing, and Russia invades Ukraine. We were watching news of the Australian floods, devastating floods. Climate change was really, really turning up on our doorstep, and it was confronting. What was happening for you in February 2022? Had you started a great business year? Which clients were you working with? Were you feeling like it was going to be a good year? Had it kicked off to be a good year? You may remember the IPCC, the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change, releasing their report concluding that the impact on our environment was irreversible. That was a pretty shocking time for many of us, especially in impact industries. How did you respond to that? What kind of conversations were happening in your circles, and what decisions did you make about your business? Possibly ones that would change your direction. Perhaps stronger boundaries came down around what you're prepared to do or not prepared to do anymore. And then March came. In the UK, we had slightly warmer weather. We were going out to our gardens, preparing for spring as the Winter Paralympics were being held in Beijing. And after some horrific incidents in London and a death of a woman, women marched in London demanding an end to violence once more. And moving into April, the big global conversation was around food inflation. We were being told to stock up and prepare for food prices and food shortages. And the war in Ukraine continued, with many of us being involved with charitable collections. Stories of people fleeing Ukraine and being rehoused all over Europe. What was happening for you in your world at that time? And as we moved into May, many communities were preparing for the Queen's Jubilee, but at the same time, the Partygate report was published. In Australia, the Labor government won the general election and finally declared that there was a climate crisis, which was such a huge turning point in Australia. And wherever you were in the world, you would have witnessed that as an impact business and seen that finally, and it did unleash a conversation that reverberated for the rest of the year. By June, there was the Pakistan floods, and the Queen's Jubilee was celebrated all over the UK. And Just Stop Oil protesters were gluing themselves to Da Vinci's Last Supper in the art galleries. And there's the return of festivals, including Glastonbury, for the first time since COVID. You were probably planning a summer holiday if you're in the Northern Hemisphere. Moving into July, the Lionesses won the Women's Euro 22. The heat waves began, severe heat that in Europe and the UK that we just weren't used to. Meanwhile, the Commonwealth Games took place in Northern England. But many of us were struck by the simple, significant, profound things like wild bison being reintroduced to the UK. What did you talk about in your business at that time? Who were you working with in July as summer was hitting and the heat surrounded you? We moved into August, festival season, holiday season, but the pound fell dramatically, the lowest since 1985. Did this affect your business? By September, the pound fell even further when, after Liz Truss was appointed PM, Queen Elizabeth died soon afterwards, and the Extinction Rebellion was protesting in the House of Commons. If you have children, they were back at school, and you were trying to find your feet after a long, hot summer. And by October, we had Rishi Sunak as the Prime Minister of England. the same month that COP27 was held in Egypt. What was happening to you? What were your thoughts and hopes for yourself and your business and your family at this time? What plans were you making? What decisions were you making? As we moved into November 2022, when the world population reached 8 billion, and the Supreme Court ruled that Scotland cannot hold an independent referendum. And now we are here in December. A month of strikes dominating the UK and Christmas preparations for many. I invite you now to press your feet to the ground and slowly open your eyes and pick up your pen and anything that you recalled that you hadn't before. Can you return to your end of year review template and just pop those things in, things you'd forgotten, people you'd forgotten. A year passed. So I'm going to end this recording in a few minutes. And again, a reminder that you can do this as many times as you like. You can hit the pause button. You can jump forward to a particularly helpful session. Please use this resource however way it serves you. And if it serves you at all to speak further with me, these are the two best ways to get in touch. The first link, Linktree, linktr.ee/Jannine Barron, is where you'll find multiple links to different resources, and JannineBarron.com is my website. If anything's been sparked for you that requires a further conversation, I can't imagine anything more beautiful than speaking with you and to know what that was. So please don't hesitate to book a 30-minute chat, which you'll find at the Linktree link, and tell me more about your reflective year and what you'd like to do in 2023. A reminder that the link to the templates are in the below on YouTube. And thank you for your time today. My name is Jannine Barron, Regenerative Business Mentor. Thank you for being here.